Aggretsuko is a Sanrio anime series about a red panda named Retsuko who works a boring office job, struggles to find a decent romantic relationship, and secretly sings death metal karaoke at night. And it's honestly one of the most relatable shows currently airing. Despite being a show about cute animals made by the creators of Hello Kitty, this show deals with some themes that a lot of audiences, particularly young adult audiences, can easily relate to, such as wage slavery, toxic co-workers, failed relationships, and overbearing parents. Season 3 was recently released onto Netflix, and one of the big themes it covers is the less relatable but nonetheless very topical theme of toxic fandoms and entitled fans. While there are many themes on this show I could discuss and may discuss in future, today I'd like to talk about Season 3's exploration of the negative impacts of fans and fandom. Season 3 sees Retsuko fall into debt after spending too much money on video game microtransactions and accidentally hitting a parked van, which leads her to take up a second job working the finances of the music group OTMGirls. While at first she's merely handling the finances and doing a good job of it, eventually Retsuko becomes a member of the band, making use of her death metal singing. While this is able to catapult the band forward in terms of popularity, it all comes crashing down when Retsuko is introduced to one of the worst, most dangerous sides of being famous, that being dealing with unhinged, dangerous, toxic fans. Now, the season doesn't portray fandom as being all bad. The earlier episodes show that OTMGirls are a pretty obscure band with not many fans, but the few fans we see, specifically 3 mega fans that appear throughout the season, are shown as being overly obsessive and a bit of a joke, but they are often very positive and later start working for the band, showing that, yeah, sometimes being a passionate fan can lead you to new positive places in life. Later, we learn that Retsuko's co-worker Komiya runs a popular music review blog. While Komiya is portrayed as being an annoying fan, it is his blog post about OTMGirls that really pushes forward their popularity. But then we meet the character known only as the Unhinged Fan. The Unhinged Fan only appears in a few scenes, but wow, does he have an impact on this season. We briefly see him in the backgrounds of some concerts, but his first real appearance comes at a meet and greet event, where he buys a ludicrous amount of tickets to be able to talk to Retsuko, and proceeds to completely berate her in an almost threatening manner, spending 5 minutes on a callous character assassination attempt purely because he hates her singing. Later, he begins to stalk her, posting her details and home address online, until finally he literally attempts to take her life in the middle of a crowded street. The Unhinged Fan is a terrifying and uncomfortably accurate depiction of the most toxic side of fandom, and despite not appearing in that many scenes, there's a lot that can be learned about him and about the archetype he is supposed to represent. He's been a fan of OTMGirls from the very beginning. He's seen in the background of the earliest OTMGirls concert scene, and he's later shown to have bought the very early merchandise. While in the early scene he might seem rather nonchalant and unremarkable, looking under the surface, it becomes clear that something was wrong from the very beginning. For starters, when the 3 superfans later try to help figure out the identity behind Retsuko's stalker, none of them know who he is. It's interesting that these 3 and the Unhinged Fan have been attending every concert from the beginning, yet he clearly hasn't spoken to or gotten to know any of them, despite there being so few other fans during the beginning. It kinda suggests that the Unhinged Fan might be somewhat antisocial. Then there's the fake social media page. Retsuko learns early on that a fan, later revealed to be the Unhinged Fan, has created an unauthorized social media account for OTMGirls, and has uploaded off-stage photos he took of the band without their knowledge or consent. Things are starting to become clearer now. The Unhinged Fan is more than just obsessed with OTMGirls. It's more like his entire life revolves around them, and nothing else matters to him outside of them. and it's reached a point where he feels a major sense of entitlement. Entitled enough to stalk them and post photos of them online without them knowing, passing off the site as official. This is obviously not okay. Being a major fan is fine, but being a major fan doesn't mean you have any right to cross their boundaries like this. They are still people, not just performers. When Retsuko comes along, she changes the band in two ways. First, by making it more popular thanks to her good financial planning, and then by becoming a lead singer. And the Unhinged Fan can't deal with it. This band is his entire world. Changing it means, in his mind, everything he lives for is changing, and in a way that he doesn't like. Because of his sheer entitlement, he can only view Retsuko changing everything as a personal slight against him, because he has no life outside of this band. If she's ruining the band, then she's ruining his very way of living. So he dedicates all his time and energy into trying to ruin her life. As far as he's concerned, it's an even trade. Like I said, The Unhinged Fan is a disturbingly accurate portrayal of the worst aspects of fandom. He is so obsessed with it that he has no life outside of it. He's so obsessed with it that the lines between fiction or performance and reality become blurred. He doesn't see the OTMGirls as genuine people living their own lives, but rather as things that exist purely to entertain him. And if they don't entertain him, then they are worthless and they deserve to know that. Not every toxic fan is this extreme, of course, but there are many toxic fans out there who will send mountains of bile and harassment to any artist or creator simply for making something that didn't entertain them. Don't get me wrong, there are artists and creators out there who are genuinely terrible people. But simply making a bad song or a bad movie does not warrant harassment or, God forbid, legitimate threats. Yeah, it's fine to criticize them, but there is a difference between criticizing someone's work and downright attacking them as a person. One interesting thing to note here is that Retsuko, at first, doesn't like the idea of becoming the lead singer or introducing her death metal to the band, and so practically fights against it. Yet, the Unhinged Fan still acts like the change in the band's music is entirely her fault. One thing I've noticed with regards to toxic fans and their angry campaigns against creators is that they will often target the actors or performers, which is ridiculous. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not okay to go after writers or directors either, but it's completely illogical to go after actors or performers because you didn't like the product when they have practically no say on what goes into a script, and often don't even see the entire script. In some cases, actors might not even like the script they've been given, but will still have to perform because they've signed a contract and don't want to be blacklisted. Or, because some aren't taking a fictional performance nearly as seriously as toxic fans do. Once again, the problem is that the unhinged fans of the world simply fail to recognise the divide between fiction and reality. They hate a character, so they hate the actor who plays said character, despite the character likely having been conceived and written by someone completely different with no input from the actor. But that doesn't matter in the eyes of the unhinged fan. The actor or performer is the one who is visible to them. The writer is not. The writer is not an entity they can project their hatred onto. Retsuko wasn't the person behind Aggretsuko. That would be the manager, Hyodo. It was his idea. He's the one who pushed for it. But Unhinged Fan doesn't see or care about Hyodo, and likely has no idea how things actually work backstage. Since Retsuko is the only one he sees, Retsuko is the one he blames for ruining the band that has become his entire life. And what's very notable is that despite him deciding Retsuko has poisoned the entire concept of OTMGirls, the Unhinged Fan does not stop being obsessed. He still goes to their concerts. He still spends all his time and energy on the band. It's still his entire life, and he hates it. Look, I get it. It's tough to love something, then realise it's changed to the point where you're no longer enjoying it. But in such situations, you need to learn to let go. It's really not healthy to obsess over something you hate, especially when you have no other outlets in life. The Unhinged fan was overly obsessed and entitled to begin with, but when his obsession turns to obsessive hate, that's when he becomes just a complete monster. He tries to end someone's life purely because, in his eyes, she ruined a band he liked. And as ridiculous as that sounds, the truth is, Unhinged fans exist throughout every fandom. One particular fandom that I'd like to think of myself as a part of is the pro wrestling fandom. And watching this episode kinda made me think of an incident that happened recently. A man was recently arrested for breaking into the home of wrestler Sonya Deville with the intent to kidnap her. Fortunately, he triggered her home security system and was captured, but it turned out he'd been stalking her for approximately 8 months. While fans like this are very much the extreme fringe, if anyone is watching the Unhinged fan thinking his behaviour is unrealistic, well, the sad thing is, it isn't. And yeah, we can look at fans like these and say, well, they're extremists, but I'd never do something like that. But we need to all remember that extreme incidents don't make the lesser incidents okay. If you don't like a particular piece of entertainment, that's fine. There are healthy ways of dealing with that. Write a critical review of the product. Write an alternate ending to a show with a bad finale. Talk about how you would have handled a character you thought was badly written. Talk to your friends about it. Listen to their opinions. Maybe have some fun complaining together. And most of all, just don't give any further attention or money to the creator. Despite the Unhinged fan coming across as horribly intimidating throughout his appearances, when Haida has him pinned down after attacking Retsuko, his excuse of "she ruined their music" comes across as surprisingly pathetic in a way that I think was intentional. Despite his traumatic effect on Retsuko's life, the Unhinged fan was ultimately a pathetic loser wasting his time, ruining the life of a person who just wanted to make people happy, but did so in a way he didn't approve of. That's what he threw his life away for. When you spell it out like that, it truly hammers in just how pointless flat-out attacking creators can be. If you ever find yourself obsessing over something like this, just stop. If a piece of entertainment is making you this mad, then put it down and find something better. That's going to bring you more satisfaction than spending so much time and energy on hatred. Making jokes about a bad product is fine. Just complaining of it is fine. Writing reviews? Well, I'd be a hypocrite if I said that wasn't fine. But remember and acknowledge that the people behind that product that you don't like are still people with their own lives, and they aren't personally trying to attack you. Just don't be like this. It really, really is not worth it. Thanks for watching the video. Looking at how certain media explores dark or interesting topics might become a regular occurrence from now on, so be sure to check out my future videos if you liked this one. As always, like, share and subscribe and all that jazz, and I hope to speak to you again soon. Goodbye!